What's up, everyone? Today, as you can see, we're going to look at the future perfect. And I'm going to actually pair this with the future tense. And so we'll look at the future perfect, and we'll look at it more or less alongside the future tense, or what I have here, as you can see, I'm calling it the simple future. And I'll use that as a way to somewhat differentiate between the future perfect and the regular or simple future. And so the future perfect is will have, because again, it's a perfect tense. And so just like all perfect tenses, we're going to use a conjugation of the verb haber with a past participle. And I put here sort of as a nickname, I think we're used to this at this point. And so I put ado and ido. And so that's just representing, quote unquote, representing the perfect tenses, or the past participle, I should say. And so I put that here. And so of course, again, it's haber as the helping verb and the past participle. And so in the case of the future perfect, we're going to use haber in the future tense, right? And so that seems pretty logical, right? And again, I just have, I'm going to use the future tense, simple future as well, but I want to first focus on how to conjugate and use, let's say, the future perfect, and then we'll move on over here. But really, it's like I said, it's going to be just applying the future endings to haber. So let's take a look and see what that actually looks like. And so, again, we have haber, and for those of you who have watched the conditional and the future videos, you'll know that haber in and of itself is an irregular verb for the future and the conditional, and its conjugation is HABR, right? And so we'll just put the ending right there after that R. And so really all you're doing is putting the simple future endings onto haber. In other words, you're putting haber in the future tense. And so that's what's going to give you that will have, right? And so we have I will have, you will have, he, she, or it will have, we will have, you all will have, and then, they all will have, right? And so, but yeah, so really all this is haber in the future tense. And so, that's what's going to give you that will have, and then of course whatever the past participle is will determine what's going to be on this end. Like I will have studied, or I will have eaten. So that's what the past participle will do, and then of course, like I said, the will have is your future perfect. And so as you can see here, I have some examples, and we're going to look at those because really, as we work with these perfect tenses. In the case of today with the future perfect, really we're at the point where we can do a lot of translation. And so it really doesn't serve much of a purpose to just, fill in the blank, let's say. I think it's more fun and more challenging to, do a full, complete translation. And it also allows, as you can see here, working with both the future perfect and the simple future. And I want to show you how those work sort of in different ways in these sentences, and we're going to look at that as well. And so, like I said, just to reiterate, the future perfect itself is will have, and to conjugate it or to create it, you would take haber and you would put it in the future tense, right? I'm going to pronounce that with you guys. You put it in the future tense, right? And that will give you that will have, and then of course your past participle. So let's have a look at how these are pronounced. So we have habré, habrás, habrá, habremos, habréis, habrán. And now, feel free to pronounce these after me. I'm going to do it one more time for you guys. So I'm going to do it, and then I'll pause. That'll hopefully give you, wherever you are listening, an opportunity to pronounce it. And then like I said, we'll kind of move through. I'll talk about that. And then we're going to knock out these translations. And so here we go. Habré, habrás, habrá, habremos, habréis, habrán. We'll do it one more time. Habré, habrás, habrá, habremos, habréis, habrán. Right? And so that's how you pronounce haber in the future tense, actually. And so So that's our will have. And again, I just want to bring your attention briefly over to the future tense, just as a bit of a review too. And so just to do the simple future is the infinitive, and then you attach these endings to the end of that. And of course, if you need a video on that, just go over and check out the future video, and if you need a bit of a refresher on that. But just as a review, it's the infinitive of the verb. Let's do an example, right? We're gonna take comer, right? The verb comer, the verb to eat, right? So you take that infinitive, an unconjugated verb, and then you would attach the ending here. So if we wanted to say, I will eat, we would just say comeré, right? So I would take that yo form, which is the E with the accent over it, and I would put it right at the end of that verb. And so that would be comeré, and that means I will eat. And so that's what makes it the simple future, and then this is the future perfect, because notice it has that have in there, like will have eaten, for example. And that's gonna be the big difference. And so both are used, of course, but used for different reasons. And so let's have a look at these translations. And of course, as always, if you want to hit the pause button and try these on your own and then come back, we'll be waiting on you. But for all of us that just want to get through this and knock these out, we're going to go ahead and get started. But yeah, feel free to pause and then come on back in and check your answers. So we're going to start here with, before the end of the class, we will have learned the future perfect, right? That's a pretty long sentence. And so let's knock it out, right? Before the end of the class, so antes del final de la clase, right? So that's before the end of the class, we will have learned, right? And so how do you say to learn, right? And so that is aprender, right? That's the verb for to learn. And so we will have, so we want to use haber plus aprender, right? As a past participle, of course. And so that's sort of what we're working with. So let's see how that looks. So antes del final de la clase, so we'll go ahead and put nosotros habremos, right? I'm getting that from right here. Habremos aprendido, right? Aprendido, because of course to make our past participle, we drop the ER and we would add ido. So we get aprendido. So nosotros habremos aprendido el, and I'm going to write it down here, futuro perfecto, right? And that's how we say the future perfect in Spanish, el futuro perfecto, right? And so we have antes del final de la clase, nosotros habremos aprendido el futuro perfecto. There you go, right? And so hopefully that made sense. Again, habremos is coming from our nosotros conjugation, right? That's we will have. And then aprendido is the past participle of aprender, right? And because it's an ER, right? ERs and IRs and then ARs. Because it's an ER, we drop the ER and we add ido. So that's where that comes from. Let's take a look at number 2. And again, as I'm sure you've already noticed, but we have the future perfect, simple future, right? And so I want you to see how those sort of work in their own unique way, right? But both, of course, alluding to or talking about the future. So we have, I will learn the future perfect today. So this one is saying, before the end of class, we will have learned the future tense, right? Or future perfect, sorry. But this one is saying, I will learn the future perfect today. So notice the nuance in there. Notice the difference, right? Both are using a variation of future tense, right? And so so we already know that to learn is aprender. So let's just say yo aprender, right? And then because the future tense, to make the simple future, we just add the ending to an infinitive. So we would just say yo aprenderé el futuro perfecto hoy, right? You already know how to say the future perfect because we did it there. So el futuro perfecto. So yo aprenderé el futuro perfecto hoy. Hoy is today, right? And so how about number 3? You will have eaten breakfast, right? let's make sure we can read that. You will have eaten breakfast before you go to class. Now, with eaten breakfast, right, you can say, of course, I'm just going to stay with comer because we can use that. So you can say comer desayuno. Of course, you can literally say to eat and then the noun desayuno, breakfast. Or we have a verb for that in Spanish. It's desayunar, right? So desayunar. Now, as you know, in this case, it's going to be the past participle. And so we're going to look at that as a past participle. So it'd be desayunado, right? And so that's the one I'm going to use. And I'm going to use green just so we can mix things up color-wise. You will have eaten breakfast. So we have, look, you have, or will have, sorry, you will have. So we have our perfect tense because we got that will have and then eaten. So we're going to go with tu habrás, right? Because we have that there, right? So habrás desayunado antes de ir a clase, right? Now we could say antes de que te vayas or antes de que vayas a clase, but I didn't want to throw in the subjunctive there and I want to focus more on here, and I don't want to do that to confuse. So antes de, right, because we have this preposition here, we can follow it with an infinitive. So we can just say antes de ir a clase. So we'll just leave it at that. Most importantly, I want to focus on this stuff, right? And so tú habrás desayunado antes de ir a clase, right? And so tú habrás, right? Habrás, there it is. Desayunado antes de ir a clase. You will have eaten breakfast before you go to class. So, good. We're going to look at number 4. He will eat dinner at 8 p.m. tonight. So now it's not will have eaten breakfast, it's will eat dinner, right? And so just for the record, to eat dinner, you can say comer cena, of course. You can say comer cena. Or you can use the verb cenar, which is literally much in the same way desayunar is a verb to embody eating breakfast. Cenar is the verb that embodies eating dinner, right? It literally in and of itself means to eat dinner. So he will eat dinner, and I'm going to use that one for this. So he will eat dinner. So él cenará, right? A las 8 esta noche. Right. Now we can say 8 de la noche or 8 de la tarde, whichever one you want to use there. But just, again, like I said, I'm most focused on future perfect and simple future for now. Like some of this other stuff starts to be, we can get more detailed, of course. But like I said, for this lesson, I want to hone in over here on this stuff. And so, él cenará a las 8 esta noche. Él cenará a las 8 esta noche. And so, I'm just taking cenar, right, the verb, and then I'm attaching this because that's the third person singular. So cenará, right, and that's where that's coming from. And so I'm going to mix it up again with the colors. I think we're going to use this one here. All right, good. So the game will start at 5 p.m. today. So notice here we're doing the simple future. And then we have the future perfect here. So, just change it a little bit so we don't get too stuck in that pattern, right? The game will start at 5 p.m. today. So to start, we have two verbs. We have empezar, right, which is a great one, or comenzar, right? Now, if you went ahead and did this ahead of me and you're checking your answers now, you could have used either one and they'd both be great, right? I'm going to use empezar, not because I think it's better, it's the one that's right there. So it's on top. So I'm just going to go with empezar. Again, if you use comenzar, that's awesome too, right? Both, as far as the future conjugation, are going to be regular. So you will be just adding your conjugation at the end. So it's all good. The game will start. So el partido, right? Some of you could have said el juego, which is fine as well, right? But I'm going with el partido. Empezará a las 5 hoy. right? And again, we could get more detailed with cinco de la tarde. If you want to do that, that's totally fine, right? But again, I'm really honing in on these simple future and future perfect for the sake of this lesson. So, el partido empezará, right? Because this is third person singular. This is third person singular. So we'd add that A with an accent on it. So we'd say, el partido empezará a las 5 hoy, or las 5, and I'll even write it here for you, de la tarde. A las 5 de la tarde hoy, right? So if you want to have it even longer and more complete, there you go. And so let's finish with this one, number 6. When we arrive, right, regarding this game, when we arrive, the game will have already started. And so when we arrive will actually be in the subjunctive, because clearly these individuals have not arrived yet. So it's when they arrive. So I'm going to use the subjunctive at the beginning. But again, like I said, most importantly for this lesson is to understand what's really going on here. But just to sort of give more robust sentences, I'm adding some of that extra stuff in there. But like I said, just a fair warning, I'm going to use the subjunctive, not the indicative here. And so, cuando lleguemos, right? Cuando lleguemos, right? When we arrive, cuando lleguemos, el partido, right? Of course, you can say el juego, right? Will have already started. And so we're going to I'm going to put a parentheses on that already, because that's ya. And we can put that, effectively at the end of the sentence in Spanish. And so at the beginning too. But I'm going to put it at the end for this example. Cuando lleguemos, el partido, actually, no, I'm going to put it right here. Ya, el partido ya habrá empezado. Now, you could, of course, say el partido habrá empezado ya. You can do that too. That's totally fine, right? But most importantly, and let me take out, we're going to use this blue one actually. I'm going to highlight this. So we have this blue here. It's a good marker. And so we have el partido, right? Third person singular. So that's why it's habrá, right? Habrá, right? El partido habrá empezado ya, or ya habrá empezado. And so, yeah, so that's really how we do the future perfect, and for that matter, the simple future. And so hopefully this lesson was helpful to conceptualize both of these uses of the future, of course, but also to see how they can work differently in Spanish, right? But still both talking about the future. So hopefully that was helpful. Buena suerte y adios.